In this activity, we will learn how to create a basic keyframe animation for the object. So simply how to move an object and how to animate its change, its position, size, and so on. The first thing you maybe want to do is to change the windows from the model setup to the animation. And you will see some maybe new windows, the windows that you didn't have a chance to play with before. One of this is this one window, IPO or interpolation window. That's where we're going to see our channels, our animations, where you're going to see certain change and the keyframes. Interpolation is because we will set the keyframes, but in between that tweening animation will be done here, and Blender will interpolate. It will create a curve between those keyframes, and we can change that curve and adjust the way we want it. The other window you're going to see is this one. It's simple timeline, where we're going to see the frames, right? And there is a green line that indicates our playhead to tell us which is the current frame. And that's here we can also see the current frame right here. By default, animation is displayed that the starting frame is 1 and the ending is 250, and that can easily be changed. You simply click and add additional frames. This is simply the navigation to play your animation, to go to the next keyframe or the previous, and so on. These are the options to automatically create the keyframes and so on. Next, the first thing you want to probably set up is the frame rate, how fast the animation is going to run. So what is your final output? If it's a television, then it's going to probably be something around 30 frames per second. Actually, and here's where you're going to change that. It's right here. So you have to be in your scene panel under the format tab, and you can here if you remember, we used to have a JPEG here when we had our still renders. Now if you click, there is many other options. So one of the options can be a QuickTime movie, and here is where you're going to change the frame rate. If it's just some animation that you're planning maybe to do to play on internet, maybe it can be around 10, 14, 15 frames per second. If it's for television, it's 30 frames and then divided by 1.001, because that will make that 29.97 frame per second, which is exact frame rate for the television. Here are the different options if you're doing the PAL, so you're creating animation for Europe, and that will create the size X and Y. This is NTSC 720 by 480 and so on. I think we're going to stay probably for now with NTC, just the basic ones. The other one you maybe want to work is the output, especially when you start rendering. That's where your output's going to go. Right now it goes to that temporary folder, but if you click and navigate and find your your folder where you put things, so in my case it will go somewhere here, for example, and if I select that one, so now I will know whenever I render, here's where my render will go. So that's something that you want to create and be specific about, particularly when you start rendering. Okay, so when you are ready to animate and create, the best thing is, right, to view your animation through the camera, because that's what you're going to see. That's what will be rendered and captured. Let's start with some basic object. If we have a box or something like that, be sure that we are in the frame 1, that's our current frame. And the very first thing you're gonna do, you're gonna hit I here, and that's a command to insert key. I can insert key just for location, so the Blender will just remember the location of my object or whatever is selected. rotate, then just rotation, scale, and you have different options. Now let's do location, rotation, and scale. And immediately we got some interesting lines, and those are the channels. Those are the channels for our animation. This one stands for location X, location Y, Z. So location, rotation, scale, exactly what we did. The next thing we want to do is to go to the certain frame where we want to make a change. If you're just using arrows on your keyboard, you're gonna jump. Watch here. I jump just clicking one arrow, like once arrow up. I'm jumping 10 more frames. So 3 times got me to the frame 31. You can also simply type whatever you want and then be where you want. But this is also easy way. And you want to kind of try to stay in some kind of rounded number because we do have a 30 frames per second, and you want to try to have it kind of nicely organize your frames. And here's where my playhead is. So that's where my first keyframe was, and here it is. So now I'm in my frame 31, and I'm going to change. I'm going to, let's say, hit S also to scale. And now I need to tell Blender to remember this. So again, I'm going to hit I, location, rotation, scale, and suddenly I have. And then if I want to click all of these ones that I created, these are my keyframes. So here we go. And you can simply move this, navigate, and so on. So this is my interpolation. As you can see, this is location Y. I didn't change much. There wasn't any change in the value of my location Y, because if you notice, I just drag it from left to right. So that's my X. So the only really change is X, and then Y, nothing happened. Z, nothing happened. Now, how about rotation? Well, nothing, because I didn't rotate it. But what about scale? Yes, I do have some kind of change, and I have a change for X, Y, and Z. So let's go back to the location X. If I hit Tab right here, I'm into editing mode of my curve. So now I can right click and select my keyframe and also drag these handles and change the way how the animation will happen, how the interpolation will happen. So I can do like that and change it. So maybe I'm slowing it down, the starting point, and just let it go. So if I just let go. So in this case, if I come here, my animation will start quickly and then go slowly there. So things like this, you can really adjust and make and have more control over your animation. And again, so right click, I'm selecting everything, right click to the handle, I'm changing my handle, and I can just let it go. So that's one of the options. Now, if why in my IPO window, if I hit K, if I was in this window, if I hit K, I would go to the knife tool. But in this one, I get into the keyframe mode, which now I can select the keyframes and move it. So move it and maybe let it go. So suddenly my animation was, the first keyframe was in the frame 1, and then the next keyframe was now in frame 55. So what do you think what will happen to the animation? It's going to be a slower animation, right? Because now it has more time to go from this point to another one. Now, I only animated location X, so if you watch, my scale X, Y, and Z didn't change. So I still have here keyframe. So if you look at here, let's go back to the frame 1. Here is my frame 1. And I hit play. So the first thing that will really change and it's going to be the scale, and then slowly, so size, and then slowly the position 2. And as you can see, my playhead continued because I had the frame 20 goes to 250. If I just made my animation to go to 100, right now, if I hit play, comes and hits wait till frame 100 and goes back. So that's how you control how long your animation is going to be. Here's how you control where your playhead is. Here you simply navigate, and here is the keyframes. So if you hit K, you're going to get into the keyframe mode. You can extend, move all the keyframes and so on. Also, if I hit here AA or just A, I can select all of my keyframes, and now I can grab and drag them all and completely move my animation. So my animation now is gonna start here, so not from the frame 0, but later on. So all these things give us some basic control over our animation. Whatever you select, so if I add another object, so let's go view top, and let me add a UV sphere, something like this, and let's go and see how that looks. Where is my camera, right? So something like that. Now I can move as much as I want until I hit that I to set up my first keyframe. Blender will not remember. So first be sure where you are. There is your playhead, there is your current frame, frame 1. Hit I. I'm gonna do location, rotation, scale. I'm gonna go into, let's say, frame 61. And I'm going to maybe move up and maybe move, let's see, view top. Let's go also closer, something like this. Let's go back to the camera, and I'm going to hit again I, location, rotation. So now I have two objects that are animated. So you select what you want. The same way you can select your camera and animate your camera. So you go to the frame 1. And let's say I say I'm going to say just the location. And then I'm going to go to the frame, let's say 61. And I'm going to go quickly to top view. And I'm going to move like this and move like this, my camera. And I'm going to hit I, and again location. So I changed, as you can see, my location X. So view, back to view the camera, go back, and now also my camera is animated. Now be careful with animating camera. My suggestion is first the best way is have some simple storyboard. Animate your objects, and then at the very end start playing with your camera.